and welcome back to another episode of Masked Monologues. After a while of waiting and just back and forth, I'm so excited to have Sangita with me. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us about what you do?
Hi, I'm Sangita Swechcha. I'm a Nepali writer based in England. Writing is my hobby, and I've been writing since childhood. I write poems, stories, and I've also published a novel, and there's another novel coming up as well. My first novel was published while I was 18, and it is about the female tolerance of pain and suffering, love and sacrifice. It also highlights the issue of women trafficking in Nepal. Actually, this novel, after 3 decades, has recently been reprinted and relaunched just this month. So I'm really excited for this novel, and it's being covered again in several media in Nepal and in the UK as well.
Wow, that's wonderful. I'm excited for you as well. I'm wondering why you decided to write on this topic because obviously women trafficking isn't a light topic and it's obviously a topic of substance. And I'm just wondering why you got the urge to write about it.
I'm not sure. I was quite young. I was just 18 when I wrote and got this published.
Mhm.
I wonder now at this age, I wonder like how could I chose or selected it's a serious topic, women trafficking. But yeah, I used to watch movies or like I have been maybe like some influence from the stories or the like that. Still in Nepal in today, like they every year 5 to 10,000 women are being trafficked from Nepal to India for forced
Mhm.
prostitution or these kind of activities. So even during those days, like there used to be some news of women trafficking, selling in Mumbai. So all this kind of maybe like those news may have affected me, and I started writing. I wrote about this topic.
Yes. And when you were writing your book, I know you wrote it when you were 18, so I don't know how long ago it was for you.
3 decades back.
Okay, 3 decades back. Yes,
It's a long
it's a
time. Yeah.
while. I'm just wondering how you started writing the book because obviously you were 18. I'm not sure how much
Yeah.
prior experience you had in writing or if you got any advice from maybe it was school teachers, any with family members maybe. I'm just wondering how you decided to structure the
Uh,
novel, did the research for it. Can you
It's quite exciting actually, and I always get excited whenever someone asks this question. I've been asked this question repeatedly several times, being having been this relaunched in the UK, and even in the during the relaunch at the event as well. I had to tell like how this happened. Like everyone was curious. Like it was a long time
Yes.
back, and the topic and still like people are writing the reviews for the book at this after so long. And people are writing that it doesn't look like someone who's 18 has written the book. It's got really serious issues and topics that explain. It's very touchy, like people can connect to these stories. But having been hearing all these like good praise for this novel after so long, like I'm really excited. And when it was first launched, back 3 decades back as well, I was all over the media and after the book launch.
Mhm.
And I started freelance journalism career as well. Like after being interviewed in lots of media, they offered me to write column. I started writing as a freelancer, as a columnist in the leading national daily of Nepal. So that's how my role in communication and the communication as a writer, as a communicator started. And still now, like I work as a communication professional. So somehow like this has got some influence or some kind of like inspiration from my writing during my childhood as well. Yeah, going back to your question, how I started writing, how I envisioned writing a novel.
Mhm.
It was not planned actually. I used to write poetries. I didn't even know I used to write poetries. I was quite a child and a bit introvert. So I didn't used to having like a lot of friends, or I didn't used to have a lot of friends actually, like
Yes.
one or two friends. And I used to be quite introverted, staying at home and then thinking and looking at the sceneries and natural beauty just in front of my house. Like there was lots of trees. So I used to be quite inspired with that, watching those things, like hearing the bird chirping and all those kind of things. So I used to scribble in the paper, and then I didn't know I was writing poetry actually. And after a while, like I used to write and then throw it away, write and throw it away. And somehow, like once I happened to show this, like what I was writing, I had talked with my teacher, and he said, "Oh, it's a poetry." So
Mm.
that's how I knew that I was writing a poetry actually. And slowly, like I started going to the school events like the inter-school competitions or contests. And there used to be story competition in different schools. Like I used to participate in the school, going to the different school, writing the on the sport story writing competition. I still remember. I don't remember like winning anything, but I remember going out for the competitions or like for recitation of the poem for different events. That's how my journey started at school. And in the school magazines, like there used to be the poetry, like being published in the magazine. That's how my school finished. And then I joined the college. And when I was in college, like that's my interest was still the same. And the college used to have the college magazine. So I became the editor in chief for the college magazine because with the background and like the writing and
Yeah.
also I could easily get the editor in chief role. I used to be quite good in language as well, like writing. And it was quarterly magazine. And I used to have my articles being published in there in the magazine at the same time, like collecting everyone's, like whoever used to write in fiction, non-fiction. So the magazine used to get published. So I was quite into like editing. I actually enjoy doing those kind of things. And that college, like this is plus two actually. The plus two finished. I was just like after the exam, like I was waiting for the results. So in Nepal, like there used to be like around 6, 7 months to wait for the exam, the results after the 12 years. This 12 years of my first week school used to be up to 10, and then we used to have 2 years of plus two, like college. So then I finished that plus two, and I didn't have anything to do during the gap between the result while I was waiting. And I thought, like, why not write a story? I was just in a free time. And I was writing a story, and then I started developing character. I don't know, like I kept writing and writing, and it was like around 50 pages story. Then I started panicking, like, where do I give this to now? Like, this is neither the story that I can send to anywhere because it's already 50 pages. I can't publish in the magazine or newspapers. And I didn't even know like external magazine or newspaper because I just completed the college. And by the time like I had recited 1, 2 points or a story in a television and a radio, and I didn't know like how can a 50 page of story could be published anywhere.
Yes.
And I was panicking and I talked to my dad and I said, this is already 50 years. I don't know what's happening. Then I told the story to my dad and my family members also listening. And then my dad said, my dad was not a writer. I didn't have anyone writer at home, not even in the distant family members.
Mhm.
My dad used to read novels, and then we used to have lots of magazines coming at home, newspapers. And my dad said, it looks like you have a skill like to write a novel. Now, why don't you turn it to a novel? And I was just wondering, what do I do doing this, like writing a novel? And dad said, I'll publish it. So
Yes.
that's how I was quite encouraged. Oh wow, I didn't know
Mm.
like how he's gonna do it. But I with that encouragement, then I started extending that the 50 pages. And when it completed, it became when it printed the first edition, it was like 265 pages of the novel. So it was like a decent size of the novel actually.
Yes.
So that's how it became. It came into the print. My dad helped me like get went to the press and then like a printing,
Yeah.
doing all this kind of thing. And by the time when I was in a process of publishing this novel, I had already got some offer from the newspapers and magazines to write because I was exploring those as well. And through that, like I got the people to speak and the event book launch. So I got really very like the prominent figures in the Nepali politics, like the Supreme Commander of the Congress, Congressman Singh, was very well known and very strong leader at the time. And he happened to come to the book launch, and that was done in my college, like St. James College. I completed studying. And that was in there, like the book was launched along with other writers, novelists, and also the principal of the college as well. Were there like 4 people who launched. Unfortunately, they all have passed away now. Like I was
I'm
feeling very
sorry to
sad.
hear that.
Yeah, yeah. Like when this book, my second edition was launched, I was recalling all those memories. But all the 4 people, like the people who have launched the book, they have passed away. But their memories, their encouragement will always remain with me even after this long. I felt like bringing those memories back and bringing what they
Yes.
have said, like all their sayings and quotes, whatever they said, that what encouragement, their pictures are put into the second edition of my novel. So I feel glad that I'm very privileged and feel proud as well, being recorded and then put it back to the new edition of the novel.
Yes. No, I love that. Would you define yourself as a communicator? Because obviously you've experimented with doing radio write-ups and also newspaper. You've written your own book. I just want
Yeah.
to know the difference between the writing styles because obviously editing someone else's work is different than writing your own book, and even editing your own book and writing a newspaper column is completely different from all those things as well. So I'm just wondering how you were able to adapt to these different formats and what advice you would have for others who would want
It is
to
all,
dabble.
yeah, it is all learning by doing actually. I didn't have idea like when I started writing in the newspaper, like in the newspaper as a columnist and also as the reporter in the magazine. I've started in the film magazine and started like interviewing the stars, like superstar of the movie as well. Those I just wonder like how could I do that? And that now
Yes.
it's scared now. Thinking about that. Yeah, but I had to go and then even did the movie review of the movie. Now I feel hesitation like during reviews and all at that age, like how could I do it? I was so confident. Maybe I was not knowledgeable that much, and I thought whatever I just see was the
Yeah.
thing. The
It's
more
so
I
funny
know,
how confident you are when
yeah,
you
I was very confident. I don't
uh
know, and I even wrote articles on AIDS and all those kind of serious issues. I used to
Yes.
go to like the AIDS control center, or like these people. The head of the this like disease control and all in the department in the hospital, and then getting the interviews about the people who go to the hospital and also the victims and all. Now I just wonder, oh, my daughter is now 19 years old and thinking about her, I feel she's very young, she's very
Yes.
mature, but how could I do all this kind of thing? I just get amazed. Maybe like the confidence I got from my parents as well, like they were like in very much
Always
encouraged.
supportive.
Yeah. They're very supportive and very encouraging. Wherever I used to
Mhm.
go, my mom or dad used to accompany. They used to, I used to share with them and they used to tell me what to do and what not to based on their experience. They, neither of them were like a writer or in the media or anything, but
Yes.
with experience, grown up people, they always had backed me up, whatever I did. Yeah, but my dad always wanted to see me as a writer. Looks like he wanted to write, but it never happened with him. He was
Yes.
very much to see me as a writer. And that's how like
He was
feel like
living
that's how like dream.
vicariously through you.
Like it looks like yeah, he fulfilled his dream of becoming a writer through me.
Yes.
He said he has written a draft something, but he never showed or never published. But he has interest in written work or something like that. But maybe like that came into me, and then he supported me very well, and my mom as well. I still remember when my first book was published. Like we didn't have the book was published by dad, but we had no clue of the market and then sending to different shops. Like I'm gonna take
Yours.
yeah those books. But my mom, I still remember, like mom used to go to different bookshops, popular bookshops as well. And then, like, but it was easier after the book launched because there was lots of media and like my interviews were coming up. And then like that was easier. I was already in the media and it was the book was published and then it
Mhm.
just ran out of the market. Like how the copies printed that time, like those times, like that was quite a lot. Like that was a decent number in Nepal. And that finished it within the 3 months. So it was quite instant, like sold
Yes.
the copy. Sorry, your question, like, what is the difference? Yeah, I think every writing genre is different. Even like poetry, writing the story, writing the novel, right? Everything has different style. So we
Yes.
just need to learn from reading or like seeing the author's work. Even now, like I love like reading or writing, reading the other people, how other people write. It's a constant process of learning and doing. Because unless I mean like there are ways of formal education as well, right? They're studying literature, but people who
Yes.
have not studied literature, for me, I never studied literature, but it came into me, it was natural. But even though it comes, it's constant learning and seeing other people work is important. So I think,
Be surrounded by
yeah,
other writers and
yeah,
poets or people
yeah,
who have
yeah,
dabbled in literature.
yeah, definitely.
Yes. So I was wondering, you say that your book blew up almost instantaneously. You
Yeah.
had author interviews. There was a lot of hype around your book, and I'm just wondering how you created that hype for other authors who might want to publish their book and they don't know how to market it or just get it known and out there. And I'm wondering if some of the reason, just part of why it blew up for you was because it was on such a controversial topic or just a
Not
topic
really.
that had a lot of weight to it, I believe.
Yeah,
Was
it's a
that?
mixture of it. It's because of my age as well, because
Mhm.
like people had the curiosity because it came. Number one was the book was launched by the prominent figures, right? And it came all around the media. The Supreme Leader of Nepali Congress launched the book, and those are the people like prominent people, figures, literary figures, what they spoke about the book, and also like the topic itself and the book reviews when it started coming, like one after the other, like slowly it generated the media interest, and I was interviewed by the leading newspaper in Nepal. And that after that, like one after the other, like it came into many media, and I used to get lots of calls, lots of letters, even the fan mails, and all those kind of those times. Like we didn't have electronic mails and all, but I used to get
Hmm.
all the print like a letter by post. And after that, I started writing columns, and then in the newspapers, magazines, and all. Education, like things are easier, much easier now, because if anyone wants to learn something, the tricks and all those things, like how to do it, it's
Yeah.
instantly lots of information available. At that time, there was not the case, like that's not the case that time. But in a way, that was easier because the market was not that competitive as well.
True.
Now many writers, right? Like, yeah, that time also there were lots of writers, but in compared, like maybe, and it's not just the writer or written thing, because in those time, the things of entertainment, like there was limited. But
Right.
now, like people do not have the attention span, like people, it's very
Don't
difficult to
read.
catch attention of the people. There are very less readers. Those times, less readers because people maybe didn't have, because many people were not aware or like something like that. But now like people are aware, but they don't have attention span, right? Like they don't,
Right.
there are lots of things, like not just the books, like there are lots of things for the entertainment. But those time, like coming into the media,
Books
then
were
my
the
case also,
primary source of
yeah,
entertainment.
yeah, like one of the primary source of entertainment, novel, and that's also novel. Like people used to love novel or movies. Like those could be that those used to be the primary source of entertainment. And also, it's coming good reviews in the media, and at the same time, I believe like my age, just the 18-year-old girl wrote this, I was
Yes.
all around it. So that also charm. Maybe I was invited in different, started getting different events like speaking or
Right.
like conducting the program.
Mhm.
So that worked for me, but that was for the limited period only,
Yes.
because keeping up that pace was not easy. Like
Mm.
getting something, and to be
Especially when
honest,
you're only 18. I'm wondering how you manage all of the attention that you were getting and how you were able to cope with it, or just be able to present your book if you were doing public speaking. Did you prepare for it, or can you tell me a little bit about that aspect of the whole book publishing area?
yeah, it's all I used to, if I have to speak, or I
Mm.
conducted a couple of programs as well. But I used to, yeah, I mean, like I used to practice a bit, obviously, and just I always had the fear of like maybe like I'll do mistake or so. But
Mhm.
unless and until we try, we never get to that way we want to. That's how I started gaining confidence. Now also, like if I have to speak in the public platform or anywhere, like at least for a second or so or a minute, like I just feel, oh, what I'll be speaking or what I'll be doing on that.
Yes.
It never, I never feel comfortable. I would rather keep quiet. I feel comfortable in keeping quiet. It's still now. It doesn't work always, isn't it? Like unless and we speak for ourselves. Who's going to speak about my book? I thought now I need to speak. Now I think I need to speak about it. So I just spend, okay, leave it. I might do mistakes. I might say something wrong as well, but if I get those kind of fear, if I don't come out of that fear or something, so I'll always be like that. So
Right.
it's okay. It's okay. Like everyone does mistake. Everyone, no one is perfect. So we need to accept that like learning is by doing, and by learning every step we go ahead. So at that time, I had the same feeling. So slowly, yeah, definitely
Yeah.
that's how I did.
No, it's wonderful that you were able to overcome those fears at such a young age, and your entire motivation was to get your book read and just build an audience for your book. You said you had the support of your parents, and
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about this because obviously it was in a different time period.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like you could go online and self-publish your book
Yeah.
and maybe the next day have it out. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering because that must have
I was
branched
wondering,
out.
like, if I had those time, like social media, like I would have lots of fan following, but now it's not easier, isn't it?
Yes, and as you were saying, it seems to be more competitive now just because it's so
Yeah, that's true.
accessible.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, once you had all these prominent figures speaking about your book, and then you had all these fans and you got these calls, was it more calls or was it like receipts
Letters
in
by
the mail?
post, yeah.
And so you got calls, letters in the mails. I'm wondering what you did to retain that audience, or did you ever think of publishing a second book or doing more with your
Yeah.
writing
That's
after?
that's the tricky question, isn't it?
Yes.
If I have to be honest, like in Nepal, even now, it's not easy for a writer to make a living. There
Mhm.
are like only there are a handful of writers maybe who could make a living, a good life from writing and selling books. So at that time, like writing as a hobby was okay, but I knew that it won't be like I won't be able to make it as my career. So I had to do something. And I was a biology student. I was planning to do medical studies. So I was
Mhm.
applying for the scholarships. But later on, like I got the scholarship to study software development, and I went to Australia after that. I'm like, after a while, a year or so of my publication of my, no, 2 years of my publication of the novel around. So I went to Australia to study. So when I went to Australia, like I just like completely were there. I used to write stories, short stories, even in there. But and later I got it published when I came back to Nepal. But it was not easier to continue with that. And I always had this fear in my mind that because my novel, the first one, that had such a good reaction and reviews in the media. And when I came back from Australia, I wrote another novel and I was stuck in the last chapter. And I'm still stuck. Like I haven't completed that. Yeah, I had this fear. What if like it doesn't come better than
You
that? Because age wise, I'm growing, but
Yes.
like, I can bring that into my second novel. And then if it becomes worse than it becomes worse, or people say, oh, when you were 18 and you wrote this, now you are 25 or 24, and then this kind of novel. So those kind of fear I had, and also at the same time with my career, family, and I had my daughter. Like it slowed down slowly. Like it's completely like it just went off from I completely forgot about writing.
Yes.
And like almost 16, 18 years, like I didn't write any. I used to write in my blogs and all for my work, but not the literature. Like
Mhm.
completely, the writer inside me got killed completely. And I feel very sad for that as well. Like,
Yes.
no, because my parents, sometimes
Have you attempted to revive that writer in you?
I used to see when the social media started, like we started joining social media, I used to see my contemporary writers writing and publishing books, and I used to just ignore. People used to tag me, and then I just used to ignore those things because I used to feel a little hurt, like not because like they are publishing, because like I couldn't do it, and I was just quiet. I used to look and then watch or whatever they're doing, like how the book's being published, and like few of things. Like I was quite updated, but I was not coming into the mainstream or publishing anything. My friends, my colleagues, contemporary writers, they used to sometimes push me or write to me like, "Why don't you write? Why don't you publish?" And at one point, that I even said, "I don't know how to write now. I couldn't even write poetry." And I used to write, and I used to struggle to think whether it's a poetry or not. I lost complete confidence in me. I had to start again from scratch. I completely lost whatever I did. And if I have to suggest anyone at this age, like I would say, never stop writing. If you're a writer, never stop writing. You might on the way, you have a family or you will have career. You might go here and there, not completely lose that track, even though one or two I will keep slowly. The pace may be slowed down, but
Yeah.
not completely lose that track. For me, like I thought like I would be able to kill the writing technique. Sometimes it used to disturb me and I used to think, no, you shouldn't come kind of thing. Oh, I completely forget my
Writing
writing
career.
inside me. I wanted to kill it, actually, the writer inside me because it was disturbing me sometimes, only very rarely, when I stopped writing. When I used to think, and then I used to feel it's rubbish. Like it's not anyway. Like I won't be able to write or make any mark on
You
that
were
because
insecure because you hadn't
very
done it in
much,
so
yeah, very
long.
much insecure. Yeah, I was very scared to
Mhm.
come out. I was very confident when I was teenager, but
Yes.
I forgot everything by the time when I grew and around in my 30s and all everything. And I
No,
never had the
that
desire of writing or publishing.
no, that's completely normal, especially I've spoken to musicians and a lot of other creatives, and once they take a step away from it, maybe they haven't done it in 10 years or 15 years,
Yeah,
it's all this stigma where you think, oh, maybe I'll never be able to have the quality of work that I was able to do
exactly.
when I was writing every single day. And
Yeah,
that just deters you from even trying. And it's just overcoming that fear and realizing that maybe today it's not going to be as good as it was when I was
yeah,
writing every day for
that's true.
years, but it will
But
improve
I
by
think when like, a couple of years back, I started doing meditation. Like I didn't know like what I was looking, what I was thinking. Like I did in my career, I'm quite happy with my career. I finished even studies. Like years back, like I did my PhD. I don't know, like what else I can do now. Yeah, and my daughter is grown up. Oh, I'm doing work and all. So I have now free time as well. Since my daughter is grown up, like she was already 15, 14, 15. Like I had less work to do other than like my regular job. Like I have more free time. And when I was doing like meditation slowly, I just felt like something was missing or something inside me that needs to be coming out. So slowly I thought like maybe writing, I may need to write again, but I needed to know like where I was. I
Yeah.
completely lost the track, and I started reading the books, especially particularly the Nepali literature. I started reading the contemporary and then the recently published books, like just wanted to see like how it is going. Or like I read two, three story collection books as well to find out like whether I will be able to write. And then when I read the books, then I just realized like, oh, I would be able to easily write these kind of stories. I had a couple of stories written long time back, like when after my novel published, around 13, 14 stories that already got published as well. And after the gap, like I wrote 7 stories 5 years back around, and then compiled all together. Then the story collection was published in Nepali 5 years back. That's how I again came back into the literature. But at that time, like I was just recalling back what I was doing, what I did in my earlier young days, how the book is launched. How I was just going back and then reading my own novel and reflecting back, like what happened, how I need like a quote from the people or something, how it should be launched or something like that. So that's the same thing I applied to the story collection as well. And that was, yeah, I got a very good reviews for the story collections. And this story collection been translated in English. And last month in April, that was released in English as well.
Okay.
I'm getting very good reviews for the story
Yes.
collection as well. And I'm very happy for that.
Yes. I'm wondering, where can our audience go and buy your book or have a read? Do you have it available on Amazon or other, maybe your website, social media platforms?
Yeah, the name of the book is the story collection is Rose Adishi, Tales of Love and Loss. And if someone searches on the Amazon Odyssey or by my name, Sangita Swechcha, it comes up on Amazon and can buy the book. Actually, to tell about Rose's Odyssey, yeah, so let's say something about the book, like how it is. So if I need to say about the book, like it has got the 20 stories and it captures the themes of different themes, actually, like the stories that which reflects the economic and psychological hardships of men and women. There are stories which says the uncertainty of future, struggles of identity, also realization of minority status. And there's the stories that seeks the quest for existence, stories of deep connection to the past. And in this sense, I would say the stories cover diverse social issues on different social classes, setting, events, and characters. So I think that, and the stories are at the backdrop of in the background of Nepal, in the diaspora in the UK and the Australian background. I feel that anyone would be able to connect the stories. There are stories, some stories are women focused, many
Yes.
stories are women focused, and there are stories which has the main protagonist and the main centered stories as well.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this podcast episode, please do check Sangita out. And if you like the episode, share it with a friend or a family member. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about my book, my novel, and the story collection as well. My novel is still in the transition phase. I hope that comes out soon, but please do buy the book, The Odyssey, my story collection, and have a read and see. I hope like you like the book. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.